Almost live. We are live. Hey everyone, this is Darren Fink and Margie with Transfiguring Adoption, and today we have the fantastic Jenn Ehler with us. Hey Jenn, glad to have you here. Jenn works with our Transfiguring Adoption Elf Squad, which is our volunteer mobilization, and she also is a foster care mentor in real life. So they're both in real life, but that's what her real life job is. So we're so glad that she could join us. Bear with us, you guys, because we are just getting used to having this whole split. On YouTube, we've always done it where we have a guest in and we're able to split back and forth. This is our first time with Facebook. So everyone give us some comments. Are you seeing us okay? Are you hearing us okay on Facebook? Because we've never done this before. This is totally new for us, having a guest on here. We tried it last week with Allison and it didn't work so well. So, hey, Tyler, glad that you're here. We all know Tyler. But yeah, oh, I'm getting some static, I think, on someone's. No, I don't know who it is. We'll see if that clears up. If not, we might have to end it. Jenn, you might have to, do you have both, like one of your things completely muted?
Yeah, my computer is muted.
Okay. Well, we'll just pretend like it's nothing. Okay. If nothing else, the only other thing I can think of is it might be our ceiling fan, like blowing some wind in the area. Anyways, welcome to our Monday Caregiver Check-In. Thank you so much for joining us. We're getting a late start because of tech issues. Thanks for the hearts, Tyler. Love the love. Again, this is Transfiguring Adoption's normal Monday Caregiver Check-In. This is our time so that you can ask your questions, give suggestions. This is your time to talk and our time just to mediate the conversation. We are not a replacement for any medical advice you're receiving, legal advice you're receiving, and we're not replacing anything that your agency or caseworkers are trying to tell you to do with your foster adoptive family. We're here to encourage and give hope, and don't sue us. So, anyways, do you want to go ahead and kick us off and get us started? Anything you want. No, you are in the spot. Okay. So last week we had a book giveaway, and unfortunately no one wrote in for the address for that one. So we would love it if you would write your address in. I don't even remember who won that one last week. Did you? It was Christina. Was it?
Christina Douglas.
Christina Douglas. So if you're watching at some point, Christina, love for you to like tell us what your address is.
Not so on here, obviously.
Like, yes, like
email us or
private or something like that. So, anyways,
the world doesn't need your address.
The world does not need your address unless you really want them to have your address, and in which case we're all joining your house for a party at the end of the year. So it happens. The holidays happen, and your house would be a great place for us to spend it. So if you are watching now, if you could share that you're watching so that other people know that we've started for real, because like I said, we had some tech issues, and so I think we've given about 500 like false alarms that we were starting. So, but anyways, today with us, like I said, is Jenn. Jenn is running one of our elf squads, which is our volunteer mobilization. It's a relatively new idea because in Transfiguring Adoption, we had the idea to have an online community that would come around and try to encourage foster and adoptive parents. They've done such things as nightlight drives where they've raised nightlights to help foster and adoptive families, especially because there are a lot of kids that are coming with sexual abuse. And so we wanted to make sure that we had people that wanted to volunteer, had a way to hook them up to be able to help out with things. So, hey, Sabrina, glad that you're here. Hey, Sabrina, let us know if the sound's okay, because I'm getting some fuzz and static back on our end, and I don't know if that's coming through on your end or not. We're having a thunderstorm, too, so I don't know if there's electrical disturbances and stuff, too, you know? But anyways, volunteer mobilization. What's that? Oh.
We have a thunderstorm right now, too.
Oh, no, so we have thunderstorms everywhere. All right. Well, so our volunteer mobilization is our elf squad, and Jenn is running an elf squad. And Jenn, can you tell, you're really new to this relatively, but it's a new concept. We just started it probably a few months ago. So Jenn is probably one of our furthest along elf squad members, and she's leading a group. Can you tell us about it? Telling what, as far as you understand what the concept and everything is?
Yeah, so I guess the idea is that it's a way for people who maybe don't live where you guys live in Florida, who want to more than just an online community, and way to be involved in what you guys are, in the work you guys are doing with foster and adoptive families. And so I guess our Elf Squad is sort of a way for us to be involved from a different place in space than you guys. And so right now we're meeting once a month as sort of a meeting where we're very small right now, but we just get together and talk about Harry Potter, and also talk about some of the issues that foster and adoptive families face. And a lot of people may not know what those issues are, so just trying to educate people on what some of the issues are and what they can do to help.
Fantastic. And she's really being modest. Again, this, like the whole idea of the groups, the local groups. So basically, we have, because our first tool that we created was using our Harry Potter, was the Harry Potter discussion guide that we had. A lot of fandoms that are really wild about Harry Potter have asked us to do different things with them. And we have a lot of volunteers, a lot of people that really like the Harry Potter series, and they came to us and they kept saying, we want to do something. How do we help foster and adopt these things? And then on the other side, we hear a lot of you that are watching this live or not saying, hey, we need help, we need assistance, we need. And so we're like, why don't we get these two groups together? Because it just seems like a perfect marriage to get people, hey, Kristen, it seems like the perfect marriage to get people together that want to help and people that need help, obviously. So Jenn is one of those people that we met her one day at an event. Actually, I think it was the celebration of Harry Potter is where we met you, in Orlando. And she just got really interested and she got really motivated. She's just one of those people that gets really passionate and wants to help and impact the world. And she's doing that. Like she said, she meets with the group once a month. And they're starting to do things. And they actually ran events an event over the weekend, hoping to push out like what Transfiguring Adoption is, what they're doing. And just giving people opportunities to be able to help and serve foster and adoptive parents. So, very cool. Thank you so much for everything you do. Do you have fun at your meetings?
Yeah, we have fun. I have one member who comes pretty regularly, and she is very new to anything about foster and adoptive families. And so I think it's been really nice to kind of educate her, and she's been really excited learning about what the needs are and how she can help. And it's something she wasn't really had any idea about before. So she's been very enthusiastic about learning.
Jenn, what do you find? Because you're also a foster care mentor. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I work for a small foster care agency in my town, and they.
What town and what state is that in, by the way? What state is that in?
I'm in Virginia. It's Central Virginia. I'm in Charlottesville. So we're the University of Virginia is, if that helps people get an idea. We're kind of a small town, but we've been in the news a lot recently.
Fantastic. So what does that look like for you to be a mentor?
Yeah, so when I have clients on my caseload, I see them about once a week is usually what we get the funding for. And the idea is just to be an additional caring adult in that child's life and give them some one-on-one time. We go out into the community. We're big on taking them into the community to give them experiences they might not have had or don't get to have. A lot of times foster parents don't have just one kid, and so they don't necessarily get a lot of one-on-one time. And so it's just an additional chance for them to kind of have an adult that they get to hang out with, just them and that adult.
Fantastic. So what do you find through what you do? What are you seeing in the whole foster care field? Like I'm not looking for any answer here. Like what are the issues that you're seeing? What are the good things, the bad things? What's something that stands out to you with your job?
One thing I've really enjoyed is that all the families that we work with, the foster parents, have been amazing. It just sort of has given me awareness of like how much that they're going through, because I'm with these kids for a couple hours once a week, and sometimes it wears me out, and I have a hard time with it, and they're in 24 hours a day, all day, so it's good respect for what exactly it is they're doing.
Fantastic. So it gives you a new appreciation for what foster parents are going through and what they're having to do every day. What is something that, I guess, what do you see helps you, I guess, relate with the kids? Like what are some moments where you've like had a success with a child, or like you've had times where something's worked?
Yeah, well, every client I've had so far, I've been able to find, even if it's something really small, like one thing that we can connect about. Like I had one client, he loved dogs, and so we would go to the dog park every week and just watch the dogs run around. And we had that in common. Another client, I had some little kids, and they loved listening to Disney music. So it's just a kind of, maybe even if something really small, just one way that we can have something in common and some way to connect.
That's really cool. So what's the best way? How do you guys find how you connect? Like, how does that work? Do you just talk, or do they have like something they fill out ahead of time, or?
So they have, each family we work with has a social worker or a family consultant that work with the family as well. And so I get a little bit of information about the child before we start seeing each other. But most of it is just coming through talking, mostly me talking, and eventually I'll hit something and they're like, oh, I like that too. So it's a lot of one-sided conversation at first.
So how old are the kids that you're working with?
It varies. Right now I have a 10-year-old. I've had anywhere from about 4, I think was my youngest, to about 12.
Okay. Wow, 4 is young. So how do you find, I mean, some of these are going to be obvious, but are there different, what are some different things that you do with a younger child as opposed to an older child?
Well, I found it was, with the younger kids, they needed a lot more structure. Like we needed to come prepared for what we were going to do, and have like 5 backup plans for when the first thing finished in 5 minutes instead of an hour. Whereas the older kids, I find structure. They kind of like just walking around the mall, just hanging out. Whereas the little kids need some more guidance in that.
Right. And I can see that with a foster parent too. I think that's where it comes into play. Like, I don't know let me know if anyone else that's watching this has that experience where you have the whole day planned out in your head and you know what you're going to do. And by the way, hey to Jennifer on Facebook who's watching, glad you're here. Have you ever had those times where you have everything planned out with your younger child and then everything just falls apart right away and you're just left there with your jaw dropped going, I don't know what we're going to do now. Like, what's plan B? I didn't come up with a plan B. There's no plan B. This is it. Plan A was it. Like, so I guess we're done. Like, has anyone else had those moments? Give me some thumbs up or give me some comments on some stories here. I'd love to hear those stories. And what do you guys do for backup? Unless you guys have a backup plan, or like they're going on a trip or they're going somewhere in the city. What do you guys do for that with your kids? I'm curious about that.
Well, it reminds me of early on in our journey, we were listening. We just happened to hear a comedian while we were traveling and listening to, I don't know, a comedy station or something. And she was a single mom who had just adopted from China, and so she had this toddler. And so she's talking about like the first day, and she's talking about how she had heard that parenting is so exhausting. And she's like, "Oh, I'll be fine. Everything's great." And she talked about how that she got a little girl up, and they did this, and they did this, and they did this, and they did this, and it was basically like we did everything I ever thought we would do in our entire lifetime, and it was only 7 a.m. And she was like, "What do I do now?"
Right. Like when all your plans are just done. Like everything's just done. Like I think we've all had those times where like, and the plans are just destroyed and now you're like, now what do I do?
Or like Jen said, where you have an activity plan and it lasts 5 minutes and they're done with it. And you thought that like, we could do this for 3 hours. And it's like 3 minutes later and they're clearly done.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm still getting some feedback here, guys. Sorry, everyone, for the feedback noise that we have. Jen is experiencing some thunder and lightning storm activity, and so are we. So I can only assume, like, we've checked all of our technical equipment. I can only assume we're having electrical issues or something like that. We'll try to power through, but let us know if you cannot hear us at all. Sorry about the just annoyance there. So I just wanted to ask you guys, so obviously with our elf squads, a lot of the people that join our elf squad, which is a volunteer mobilization, they happen to be Harry Potter fans, and they love the series because for one reason or another, it's meant something to them in their life. And what we found at Transfiguring Adoption is that there's this thing called bibliotherapy, where people can relate to characters in media or books. And that's a large part about what Transfiguring Adoption is about, and a large part of our programs with our book lists, our movie lists, songs, everything. It's something that therapists have been using for, I want to say, eons. I don't know. Like, I think I even read something where maybe, I don't know if it was an old Greek philosopher. I don't know, like, I can't, I'm totally blanking on a Greek philosopher, but like, I want to say that they even did such things like that, where they would tell people to go read something else. Bibliotherapy is great. But yeah, so the whole concept of using books to reach kids comes off of that. And bibliotherapy is also intention. So you're reading and the person is seeing issues or problems and how things are solved, and then you're intentionally walking them through to see how they fit in there. Because, I mean, how many of you guys have been to a place where you read something or you're talking about someone else's problems and it's your exact same problem, and you're just sitting there thinking that person really needs to get straightened out, and you have, until someone says, well, what about you? Like, you have no idea that you need to be looking at your own life. So has anyone ever heard of bibliotherapy before? Has anyone ever used bibliotherapy before? Margie, do you have any thoughts about bibliotherapy? We've talked about it on here a long time ago. But
yeah, we've seen it be very, very effective. Just even, it's non-threatening. So a lot of times you can talk about a character without ever having to talk about yourself. So you can kind of process things without having to say, this is exactly what happened to me, and this is how I feel about it. So it's a great way for kids, especially if they're very avoidant. Like, we had a child once where the therapist said the child would climb the walls during therapy. And we thought that was kind of a metaphor, and didn't realize, like, the child was so avoidant. Literally, the child was climbing the walls or rearranging furniture, anything to not have to talk about what had happened. And it's a lot less threatening for them to kind of read a book. And you can talk about concepts. You can reach them with concepts like the fact that no matter what happens, we're going to stick by you. So, a book that says, you break the window, well, we're still going to love you. We're still going to stick by you. We're still going to help you. And shows kind of some of those concepts of unconditional love and things like that. It's been very effective.
Jen, what do you think? Have you ever heard of that concept of bibliotherapy?
I think I've heard of the concept, but I've never heard it called that before. So that's something, the term is new to me.
So I know, like, you're leading an elf squad. Do you think that people get interested in the whole concept of using books to help kids because the Harry Potter series has meant something to them?
I think so. It does for me anyway.
Right. So how do you think for a lot of people, how do you think with foster care and adoption, this goes out to both of you guys. How do you feel that foster care and adoption, how's the best way to tie in that whole series? Like, why is it such an interest for people, I guess?
I think there's
For me, the series is really non-traditional ways of having a family. Like, Harry doesn't have his biological parents with him, but he manages to find all these other people to kind of make his own family, which is one of the things I've always really liked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there's so many characters, and they have such a wide array of experiences that most people can find someone in the story that they can relate to. And there's a lot of very, very well-developed characters.
There are. I think there are. I think that's important for a book series too. Like, I've noticed that a lot of our books that we review, like the books that are successful, they don't have perfect characters. Like the characters always have flaws in them because we all mess up. And so it's really hard for people to identify with a perfect character, but those characters that are having to deal or struggle with something, it's actually like, let me geek out for a little while. It's actually why, like, since we have all these movies that your kids might be into that are, you know, Superman and Batman, and then you have Spider-Man and Iron Man and all of them, it's actually an interesting geek science that when Superman first came out, they actually had to rewrite his character. Did you know that? They had to rewrite it because he was too perfect. Like there was nothing, he didn't have anything that could stop him. And so they had to figure out something that he would have a flaw or something, because there's no way bad guys could try to stop him because he was this perfect superhero. And when the Marvel characters, I'm talking like when you go to the movie theater, Spider-Man, all the Avengers, different things like that, they were built around that whole concept of characters having this inner struggle with things and trying to deal with their own stuff. And for a while, it actually made the Marvel comics way more popular because they were having to deal with that. They were real people, where like Superman and Batman, they were dealing with external issues, but inside they were pretty perfect. And they weren't dealing with stuff. So they had to like rewrite some stuff to kind of match with Marvel to do all that. So I think it's interesting that I think with our kids, when we're talking with them with books and movies, like I think that's a good thing to look for, is how realistic really are these characters. So yeah. And I think the Harry Potter series does do a good job of that. I think like you guys were saying, like I think the characters are really rich. And they're just full of a lot of inner struggle, and they're just real. J.K. Rowling's done a good job of making them very real people that we can relate to and talk and learn lessons from. So, yeah. What do you guys think, too? What's a good movie, do you guys think, that is a good movie that would be good for foster adoptive parents to watch?
To watch with the kids or to watch without the kids?
Either way. I'll let you guys steer that one.
Depends on their age. The Great Gilly Hopkins is a good one in terms of, I've not seen a movie really portray foster care as accurately in a fiction story as The Great Gilly Hopkins.
Have you ever read the book or seen the movie, Jen?
I read the book a long time ago.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those where it's like, yeah, eons ago I read it for like a book report, right? It's actually, but like what Margie said, it's actually really, like it's just really real. Do you remember anything about the book?
Other than that, it talks about foster care, I don't.
What did you like about the book?
Well, I think some of it was just that, like I said, some of the struggles that they're going through are very real. And then the fact that there are so many movies where the foster or adoptive parent is like, you know, it's kind of like the step parent. Step parents in movies are often portrayed really negatively and evil. You know, you got the evil step parent kind of thing going on. And a lot of times foster and adoptive parents are kind of portrayed that way in media, or there's things about foster care and adoption that are portrayed very negatively. And this one more showed the real side of it and kind of what things are like, and didn't have that evil foster parent person in there.
Right. So it's, yeah, I think it's really hard to find like the stories that don't portray the foster parent as the evil person that's
Like
out to get them.
Dogs.
Like, yeah, Hotel for Dogs. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie, but the foster parents were like these evil, like they locked up the food and they wouldn't let the kids have any food, and like yeah, like the kids had a dog, which I'm not sure how that works. Like, does that happen? Like, do kids have dogs in foster care that go with them from home to home? I've never even heard of that.
It was like a stray that they found or something.
Right, but does that happen? If that happens, Jen, have you ever had anyone that's like a kiddo that's like, yeah, I have a dog. Like, it's not my foster parents' dog, it's my dog.
No.
I've never even thought about that. I wonder if that's
like I've seen posts about it and stuff, and like things like, what if? I mean, we had kids in care who were asking for animals, and we had to kind of walk them through. Okay, so if you get an animal and then you go home, is that going to be okay? You know, can your family support the animal? Do you have space? Is it, you know, if your parents are in a rental, can they have the animal? So there's a lot of issues with that.
Or even I just
seen, like questions of, okay, so the child has a dog, can the dog go with them?
Well, and just, yeah, because I would just even think that'd be part of the process, right? Like, okay, they have, like, if they want to buy a dog, it's like, okay, let's think real here. Like, what if you go to a new foster home and the new foster home says, no, you can't have the dog? Like, are you okay with that scenario? And we don't necessarily want to take care of your dog. Like, you're going to take care of the dog. So then what happens to the dog? I wonder if that happens. I'm so curious about that right now. Someone needs to answer on that. Someone's going to watch this later and they are going to answer that for me. Or Jen's going to find out. Jen's going to go ask tomorrow at work. She's going to be like, so, random question. Let's say, and they're going to be like, where did you get this question from? You'll be like, no, I don't know. Just thinking. That's awesome. Very cool, you guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say real quick here, too, just so there are people, it looks like, that are jumping on and off here. We do have some electrical storms that are going on in both locations here, so sorry if there's any feedback on the audio. We are taking questions at any time that you want to ask questions or you want to steer the conversation. This is your time. This is your time to ask questions and give us advice or suggestions. Oh, hey, I actually have people on YouTube. Adoption Option is on there. He says, happy Monday. Can you see my posts?
We can. We weren't
watching. I wasn't watching them because I was so intrigued about talking about dogs and if they get to go with the kid. Like, that's what I want to know. So Adoption Option is over here on YouTube. I hope they're still watching us. But yeah, give us some suggestions or ideas or anything that you want to talk about. This is your time. We're just talking right now about whatever pops into our heads. Obviously, if pets get to go with foster kids from home to home, until you give us something to talk about, or we'll just keep going with this if you want to, because we're all fun and we can talk about that. So, very cool. So how does it feel then? So like I said, Jen is part of our volunteer mobilization. She's actually one of our like best leaders that we have because she's like rocking it. She's got things going on. She's got different things going on.
Adoption Option feels shunned.
Oh, he feels shunned because we were ignoring him. Oh.
We love you, Adoption Option. Sorry.
So Jen is part of our volunteer mobilization. She's rocking it. She's trying to get things together. She's trying to get volunteers together and put things together for foster and adoptive families. I would love to know from everyone watching, what would be a great thing if you had a group of people that were in your local community that they were just begging for a project to do. And they're like, we really want, like, we just want something to do to help our area local foster or adoptive families. What project would you give them to do? I'm just totally wondering what project you would give them to do. And Jen, what do you think is exciting about the potential of leading a group of people that are just, I don't know, they're excited about this, or they're excited about also about just having a social club? If you got any of that. Oh, we might have lost Jen. She's frozen on us. Oh no. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
You guys keep going in and out. I don't know what's happening.
It might be the storms. What do you think is exciting about leading an Elf Squad group? Like the potential of growing it out and having the different things like being able to have a social club and being able to do things for foster and adoptive families.
You know, I think it's exciting. I know people like to do things for charity when it's local, like donating a nightlight and then sending it in the mail somewhere far away is very different than being like, I donated a nightlight and this family down the street is getting it, so I can help them with their foster kids. So I think that's a really cool idea, is that once we get bigger that we can do things like that for our local area.
And I think it's really exciting. For me, it's really exciting. Again, this isn't like something, I think it's exciting for me because it's not something that Margie and I thought about. We didn't come up with this. We actually were doing our own thing. We were trying to help local agencies and different things like that. And we actually had volunteers that came up to us wanting to do this. And so I think that's why it's exciting for me, is because we didn't think of this at all. Like the people that were leading Transfiguring Adoption didn't come up with this. It was people that were they're just really interested in it, and they really want to help area caregivers. And like Jen said, I think it's, before we had it set up where it was like an online media thing, where it was on Facebook and different places like that, and people could go on there and they could talk with each other online, but people wanted something where they could affect their actual local area. Like when we do a nightlight drive, they want to be able to take the nightlights to the agency, and they want to be able to see the agency workers get excited and not just us snap pictures or say, yeah, they were excited. Thanks, guys. Thanks. All right. So I think it's going to be really exciting. And Jen was out at a campground area, actually talking to people about her Elf Squad group, because they're having a big celebration. It was the Harry Potter birthday event, right? Yeah. And how you said that it was like you were able to talk to quite a few people, and there were quite a few kids and stuff out in the area.
Yeah, there was a lot of kids that were at the campground. So it was a very family event. They had the movies playing for the kids, and they were making wands and stuff. And so I was able to talk to the kids. Really liked our little owl stickers. So we sold some of those. The kids wanted them, and I talked to a lot of the parents kind of about what we do, and people were very interested in hearing about what we do, because I think it's an area that doesn't get talked about a lot, but helping the caregivers, not just helping the kids.
Right.
Well, and that's huge, because we've talked to both agencies, like we've gone to agencies that we thought, oh, this is a really large agency, they get tons of donations. What are they really going to care about us bringing, first foster kits and survival kits for their caregivers? And I just remember going in and everyone just, tearing up, and like lots of people coming, and they're like, oh, you care about the parents? You're doing something for the caregivers so that they can better take care of the kids? It was just kind of something that they'd never heard of, it just, people weren't doing it. And, that, and just the fact that, when we've done tables at so many conventions around the country, so many times Darren says he'll turn around and I'll be catching somebody on the other side of the table crying. And it's inevitable that no matter where we go, it seems we run into caregivers who are really struggling. And just the fact that there are volunteers out there, that there are people that are rooting for them, that care about them, that are wanting to know what the issues are and how to help them, just totally changes things for them. And they just, kind of melt. And like Darren said, I've like run around the table just like hugging people who are crying, because they didn't even necessarily know what they needed or have something exactly, but just they just needed to know that somebody cared and that someone understood, and that people were wanting to understand and wanting to help them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's, like you said, Jen, I think it's something that people don't think about. Like they're just, like people don't necessarily think about this. And I think it's hard for people to wrap their brains around. I'd actually be interested with people watching. If you're a caregiver, what do you feel is the one thing that you want people to know about what you do as a foster parent or an adoptive parent? Like, what are the things that when Jen talks with, and Jen's in this world like as a mentor, so she does see more than the average person, but like what when we have like a volunteer that's talking with someone, what do you want people to know? What do you want the public to know about foster care and adoption that they don't think about or know about? Because I think there are a lot of, like, what are some of the things that you guys think about, like the, I guess, urban myths? Like, what are the urban myths that you guys have heard about foster care and adoption?
For me, the big one is people think, oh, they're a foster parent. The state gives them all this money, so they're in it for the money. They don't need help. They have all this money to take care of the kids. So why do they need help?
They are just living off the government rich.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's definitely an urban myth. When I think you've done, like, looked into things. I know with Illinois, like, it was.
Well, it's been a little while, but a while back, there were some folks that did what they called the MARC study. It's the minimum adequate rate of care. And so they basically went state by state and they looked at what the cost was of caring for a child. The minimum, this is not like extracurriculars and, you know, your kid's not in soccer, your kid's not doing anything. They're just surviving, what it takes to actually raise a child. And then couple that a little bit with, like, okay, there are some things that cost a little bit more when you're dealing with foster care and kids who've been through trauma, and maybe, you know, you're replacing the mattress more often because there's bedwetting issues, or there's this or there's that. And then they kind of went state by state and said, how much does that rate that a foster parent is getting to help take care of the child? And it's a reimbursement. They're not getting paid. It's considered
Right.
reimbursement. How much would that reimbursement need to be raised to just minimally take care of a child? And I know, like, at the time we were in Illinois and it said 80%. It would have had to been raised by 80% just to minimally care for the child. That's not, like I said, this is not soccer. This is not karate. This is nothing extra. This is just like feeding, clothing, getting school supplies, that kind of stuff, hygiene. And so, you know, around the country, most of those rates would have to have been increased enormously. Just so when people, it is very much an urban myth that people are just sitting around
By the
making
way,
money.
Tommy's on here. Good
Hey,
to see Tommy on here. Glad you're here.
So yeah, that's definitely an urban myth.
Yeah. What are some other urban myths you guys have thought about? Like what we're saying, Jenn is leading our volunteer mobilization up in Virginia. Like what's something that you would be like, yeah, we want people to know that this is a myth about foster care and adoption. Like, this is not, as caregivers, this is not what we're dealing with. Jenn just said that, you know, we get tons of money from the government to raise kids.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other question we kind of want to repose, and this is something like as people come on here maybe later and watch this not live, is for the caregivers. You know, we've got Jenn who's in here today live with us. Bryant's already, I've seen, been popping in. So we have our volunteers around the country who are here to listen. So what are things that as a caregiver you want people to know that you could use help with? Or what are, you know, if our volunteers are going to do another drive, what is something that you find would be very beneficial to have in your house that would make caring for the kids easier, that would make the stress level go down, that would, anything that you would find beneficial to have, so that's one question, what you would find beneficial to have, or what you want volunteers or the public to know about foster care and adoption, about what it's like to be a foster parent or adoptive parent.
You know, the other urban myth that I've heard about foster parents and adoptive parents is that we go through all this training. And so when I tell people about something that we might be struggling with or dealing with, they're like, well, don't they train you? Like, don't they train you to, like, deal with that? And it's, yeah, like, I just find, like, I find then I have to talk to them just about, like, the whole, like, well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like telling someone, well, like when they're saying they're having a rough time because their newborn isn't sleeping at night and they're running on, like, a half hour of sleep for the week. And they don't know what to do and they're just going mad and crazy. I'm like you never say, well, didn't you train for this? Like you can't, there's like some things in foster care and adoption you just can't train for.
Well, and there's so much that has to be communicated by the agency. So, I mean, there's times, you know, you have a few hours that's just medication administration and CPR. You have, you know, these forms that have to be filled out and these things have to be done. So there's very little time, especially in that initial training, to go into a lot of the detail of trauma, and it's actually an area that's lacking in a lot of places, is trauma training and how it impacts children, how it impacts behavior, how you would have to parent differently, how it impacts school. And sometimes there are trainings and you might get a training, like in Illinois in the beginning, we had to go to training on dealing with special ed. But then at the time, if you don't need it, you're not using it, it kind of just, you know, you get so much information a lot of times. And it's kind of like drinking out of a water hose. You know, you get sprayed down so much, you only get so much that actually goes in. And then there's so much that maybe you're not using at this moment. So it kind of just goes through.
On YouTube, Adoption Options chiming in saying, I think it is so important that foster adoptive parents need us time to work on their relationship, which tends to go on the back burner in most cases. So yeah, I think that's really true. Like, I know I've heard Dr. Karen Purvis has, like when she was alive and doing her stuff, she said that it was really important. Like even, I think it was for a month, wasn't it? Like a month. Like I know it's important for people. I know when we were living in Tennessee, it was like, you need to have family over and you need to go to church and show everyone like the new kid and stuff like that. And her thing was saying, no, you stay at home. There's no visitors. There's no going to church. There's no going, like you're not going out and you're not like, I mean, we live in Orlando. There's no taking the kid to Disney. There's no, like, you're at home. You're at home. And if someone has to come over to drop something off, they drop something off at the front door and they leave. Like you're not introducing the child to a lot of new people because you're all getting acclimated to each other. And I think we can attest to that too, because we just did a move from Tennessee to Florida, and even just us, I mean, that was enough to upheave our whole world, and we had to get acclimated to a new place and figure out how to do a new thing. So
yeah. Well, it's important too, like that us time and just even connecting, because there's a lot of times, as you know, you get kids that might triangulate, but if you never have an opportunity to talk to each other, you know, I had someone recently I was talking with where a child came and told one of the caregivers, I'm going to split the two of you up. And like didn't think a whole lot of it until like, you know, weeks later they found that they were fighting and all this stuff was going on, and the other caregiver didn't even know that was ever stated because they never got a chance to really connect that had been said. And then they realized that the child was kind of manipulating and triangulating them and kind of turning them against each other. So, I mean, if our relationship falls apart, then the relationship as the caregivers can be, you know, everyone suffers. And so we need that time. Adoption Option had a couple other comments on YouTube over there.
We were just talking, no, he and I were just talking over here that yeah, it's so true. There's no brochure for parenting.
Yeah.
But Jen's working on it. She's got how to mentor a child in 10 easy steps. I'm expecting it at the end of the month. Maybe the end of next month. Or do you need an extension?
Tomorrow.
So is that a no? Yeah, Adoption Option says you could pick up a copy of Dr. Spock's book. Yeah, well, not everything is in Dr. Spock's book. Very cool. Are there any other urban myths that you guys can think of that with foster care and adoption? I mean, I know I mean, I'm even thinking of the one where it's that if you adopt or if you foster a newborn, that they're not going to have any issues or anything like that. That they're not, but yeah, but that one's such a myth because, yeah, maybe not at the time. They might seem like they're doing fine, but more than likely later on when that child starts to get a little bit older, they're going to have questions and like just the trauma is going to come out about being taken away from their birth family. And just Just the chemical and neuro stuff that happened.
Transmitters and stuff like that.
Because of the stress. So Jen, do you see a lot of kids that come, like, can you see that kids have been through trauma when you're doing, I mean, I know you can't speak to specifics, obviously, but do you see any situations like that where there are kids coming into your mentoring program and they obviously have had like a stressful background or a stressful life?
Oh, for sure. I'm sure. I think all of them have, honestly. Like, even if it's not apparent immediately, like in their behavior, I think that just the fact that they're not with their family anymore is a big trauma for them.
Yeah, I think you're right too. Like, and that, so you're doing a lot of things where you're just connecting with them, hanging out with them. Maybe, are you doing homework with them also?
Not a lot of the time. Mostly we're trying to go out in the community and go to events and sort of expose them to things they haven't seen before. We go to the library a lot. That's one of the great free resources. We have a great public library here. So I've been able to, they do all sorts of activities in the library. So that's been a big thing we do. But
do you see that the kids, because they come from such a traumatic background, just like being taken away from their birth parents, do you see them having trouble to engage like when you're with them, or is it just too short of a time to really see?
I think they definitely, a lot of them have, we set goals each month when we're working together.
Sure.
And a lot of them have a goal of getting along better with their peers. I think social interaction is really difficult for them. They have a hard time forming relationships with their peers or with other adults. And I'm sure that is directly related to the fact that they've had this trauma in their background.
Yeah, I'm sure too. Adoption Option also threw up another myth. He said a single parent cannot adopt. That's true. That is definitely a myth.
Yeah, and I see, and Jen might be able to speak to this too. There's a lot of times where there's situations that a child has been through where actually a single parent is more beneficial. You know, if you've got a child who's been greatly harmed by, you know, an adult of a certain gender, sometimes it's helpful for them not to be in a home with someone, you know, with a caregiver of that gender or things like that. Do you see that all, Jen, with kids you've worked with and stuff?
Or maybe not parents, but like if a young lady has had sexual abuse in her past, like she does better with you rather than if she was paired with a male mentor.
Yeah, definitely. I think with the older kids, they will either themselves request one gender or the other, or their caseworker will say, hey, they need to be with only a female or something like that.
Right. No, I think you're right. Very cool. Very cool. Well, we are going to start wrapping up here. Thank you so much for everyone watching. If you guys have any questions or last minute comments that you want to get in on the live stream, please do it now because we are wrapping up here and I'm stalling to let the lag time get to you. So we are going to be live again next Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Schools are starting here soon in the Orlando area, so I'm looking forward to more parents maybe being able to get on here as school starts and you guys get more into your schedules. But I appreciate everyone that's taken the time to watch. We're going to be here, like I said, every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say, if you're not watching live and you have something that you want us to address, we always watch these chats later on. And so a lot of times we get questions either inbox to us or in the chats that people say, hey, I want to talk about this, or I want to hear what you have to say about this. So definitely drop those comments or questions in for us to address just on chat, or for us to, you know, I mean, there are some topics that someone asks about and we can end up taking a whole Monday night and just talking about it. So
the last thing that I wanted to tell everyone about too, and I will put a link, or I'll put it in the comments maybe. I know last week we were talking about Arc Therapeutic. They make these really cool products called jewelry. And it's stuff that it's chewable jewelry so that kids can chew on it. Like when they're anxious or feel anxiety, or they just need that sensory input because they have sensory processing issues. Arc Therapeutic, which is arctherapeutic.com, has given us a coupon code, which is Transfig20, And I'll put the link up here for that. It's Transfig20. That's going to give you 20% off their jewelry, though. And
is it just their jewelry, or is it?
No, it's all their products.
Okay, so they have lots of other therapeutic stuff, not just jewelry. So
yes, it's
a
all.
lot of folks have kids in their homes that it's not just sensory processing. There might be autism. There might be, you know, speech delays or different things that the art therapeutic tools help with. So
I'm going to pin that comment to the top. That coupon code is going to go for all of 2018. They've also set it up so that some of the proceeds go to Transfiguring Adoption to help us get resources to people, but their products are amazing. Like, we're definitely looking forward to getting some stuff in the mail to review. We definitely endorse their products. I think, I want you guys, if you didn't hear anything else that we were talking about today, the jewelry, if your child needs sensory input during the day or they have anxiety issues, this may be a game changer for them at school. They have products that are great for teens. So they don't have just stuff that hangs around their neck that looks like it's for a 5-year-old, but they have like dog tags and different things like that that look like teenagers would wear. Like, they have some really cool stuff.
They have things to go on the top of their pencil that they can chew on.
It's a very cool thing, but yeah, it's the code is in the comments down below, but it is Transfigure. That's Transfig, Transfig, and then 20. And you can use that coupon code all of 2018. You get 20% off their products. And I think, if I understood right, I don't think they ever use that big of a coupon code. So this is like a huge thing. You can get quite a bit of savings on that. But
yeah, and I know, like, we spent, and Dalton talked down here last week about his Raptor print that really has been a game changer for him. It really has helped him a lot. We spent it was $12.99.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So, you know, if you're using the coupon code, you know, it's going to be closer to like $10 or something. And I think it was free shipping as well. So
yeah, definitely a huge game changer. Okay. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Tell your friends that this is going on. We want to spread the word, because the more people that are on here, the better conversation that we can have. Please let us know if you have any questions or anything that we need to address next week. Thank you so much to Jen for joining us. She took time out of her schedule to be with us. And yeah, we will talk to you guys later. This is Darren Fink, Margie, and we hope we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family.